Story 1. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my sister to announce her pregnancy at my wedding? Me, 28, and my sister, 32, have never really gotten along that well. My parents were divorced, and so we never really spent much time together during our childhood. Once we got in our early 20s, though, that changed, and we actually got pretty close. Both of us were in serious relationships, and we would always talk about our dream weddings. Fast forward a few years, and my sister was finally getting married to her high school sweetheart. I've never seen her so happy, and I knew this was going to be one of her most cherished moments in life. That was until my dumb-butt ex-boyfriend proposed to me at my sister's wedding. Needless to say, I had absolutely no idea. I rejected his proposal and ended up leaving him after a few weeks of him showing no signs of him being sorry at all. My sister was rightfully upset with the both of us because in her eyes we had just taken away her spotlight on a day she's been dreaming of for years. I felt so bad that I ended up giving her around half of what she paid for the wedding. A little much, I know, but when you have your whole family against you, you'll do anything for things to go back to normal. It took a couple months, but our bond came back, and I ended up meeting my now fiancé. Our wedding is in a couple weeks, and my sister has been making jokes about announcing her pregnancy at my wedding. At first, the jokes were funny, and I thought they had no real threat to them, but after today, it was pretty clear she was not actually joking. My mom called me telling me that my sister said she was going to announce that she was pregnant during the speeches part of our wedding to get back at me for what I did during hers. I texted my sister saying that it was completely unfair to not just me, but especially my fiancé, and neither of us were to blame for what my ex did. She won't hear me out, and I told her if she won't drop it, then she won't be allowed at my wedding. I guess she's been crying to all our brothers, saying I'm a B and a crappy sister for not only ruining her wedding, but for not letting her get a tiny bit of revenge. I get it. It must be hard to have that happen at your wedding, but how should it be my fault? I didn't tell him to do it, and my now fiancé definitely didn't either. My dad and brother said I was being petty and that it was only fair I let her do that considering what happened to hers. My fiancé is on my side, though, and thinks it best I don't let her come, or at least not come to the reception. I know it might be a bit unfair for me not to let her get back at me, but I didn't pay the $15,000 pity money just for her to try and ruin my wedding years later. We're both adults, and at this point, I think I could be being overdramatic. A pregnancy announcement and a proposal are two very different things, but I won't lie and say it wouldn't hurt my feelings if she did do that to me. Update. So today was my wedding, and I'm glad to announce that it went amazing. I don't have much drama to update you on since I've just been blocking people in my family who've been being mean to me about the situation. My husband and I ended up uninviting my sister, my father, and older brother. We felt it was more important to us to have a fun and non-stressful wedding rather than try to please my sister and do some sort of compromise. I definitely got a ton of crap for it at first, since I couldn't exactly tell everyone in my family why they were uninvited. I didn't want to ruin her moment again, lol. But when my sister announced her pregnancy a couple days ago, I could finally tell them my side, and pretty much everyone agreed with my decision. Okay, first off, it was not your fault. It was your ex's. Your ex did this. You made that very, very clear, and the fact that you're getting blamed for this is ridiculous to me. Like, why would you be getting blamed? Because you didn't sit him down beforehand and be like, now, just in case you're thinking of proposing during the wedding, don't do that because it's a huge no-no. Like, that is not your fault. And then you paid for half her wedding because of that. $15,000 apparently, which, what? That's absurd. You have paid a debt that you didn't owe. And now she wants to spoil part of your wedding, taking away the focus from you on your day. Is she going to pay for half of your wedding? Was that at least part of her agreement? Like, oh, I get to announce my pregnancy, but I'll also pay you, 15 grand. Like, I'm sorry. That's such absurd reasoning on the sister's part, and I 100% do not blame you for uninviting her. How petty that is. Like, that is the mindset of a 9-year-old. And the fact that the father's like, well, it's only fair. Like, ugh, that's the kind of bad parenting where it's like, oh, well, you broke her toy? Well, now snap, I break your toy. I'm a good parent because I have like this just absolutely base level understanding of fairness. I hate that so much. I'm so glad that your wedding went well, and I hope your sister learns a lesson about so many things. Story 2. Ex lies during divorce to have me jailed, and instead he's left with remorse. I was getting divorced in the early 90s. My ex was peed that I was divorcing him. I owned the house prior to the marriage, so he moved out, but he broke back in and tore up all kinds of things, tore up my jewelry, my clothes, he cut holes in all of them, etc. I couldn't prove it, but of course it was him. When we went to divorce court, he gave the judge a 2-page list of things that he supposedly brought to the house with him prior to marriage that I refused to return. My attorney showed me the list, and it was stuff that he never owned in the first place. He totally wanted me thrown in jail for contempt of court. My alternatives ways to pay like $2,000, and I wasn't about to do that. I opted for jail, but my friend kept telling me to just to pay it. I refused. 2 days before I was to appear in court, a girlfriend of mine asked if she could see the list. Sure. She noted that the things he said were there didn't give much of a description. For example, he says there's a gun. He didn't say what kind of gun. He said there was a computer, and he didn't say what kind of computer, and so on. Her point was that if I went around and bought everything on the list, it would probably cost me around $200, and that was worth staying out of jail. I agreed, knowing it would also be worth him being livid that his plan didn't work. So I made a game of it. I went around to pawn shops and resale stores, and I told whoever was in charge there that I was on a scavenger hunt, and I briefly explained what was going on. They all loved the idea and helped me get through my list rather quickly. Here are some lovely examples of what was boxed up for him. Gun. An old rusty cap gun screwdriver set, same old and rusty clothing, Goodwill horrid stuff bust statue, made one myself from clay knives. Old and rusty camping gear, an old pan, matches, and a tiny tarp. And one of my favorites that I remember was he said he had a Monopoly game, so I sent him a Goodwill find without any of the pieces, just the board. I wish I could remember everything that we got. It was so much fun, and when we got home, we had to videotape boxing them all up and going through the items one by one. My attorney told the judge that I had found in the attic and I just hadn't seen it before. So sorry. The judge told my attorney to simply drop the box off at his attorney's office and that the divorce was final. My only regret is not being able to see his face when he opened up that box of garbage. And there was nothing he could say because he made the stuff up in the first place. It's been 30 years, and I still get joy thinking about it. Boy, oh boy, am I so happy that this person divorced whoever this guy was, because he sounds like the most petty a-hole and just a jerk. Like, who knows who was, like, fully at fault? Maybe the poster of this was a pretty rotten person. I don't know. Who the heck knows? But to, like, claim all these things that were yours, but no descriptions and no proof and all that stuff, just, come on, pal. Why do some people insist on making divorces so much harder? They're already so difficult this day and age. Like, it's so much to go through and so many legal things and stuff. Like, nobody has fun with a divorce, but some people seem so intent on making it so much worse. Like, just move on. It was a very recent previous video that said the best revenge is a life well lived. My God, please just do that, some of you folks. I know some of you want your petty revenge and just to get everything you can. Just go live a happy life. That's all you need to do. Come on. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my pregnant teenage stepdaughter over my cat? I'm at the vet waiting room with my cat, so I'm going to rush this and edit the grammar later. So I, 35 female, have been with my 45 male fiancé for 3 years now. He has 2 kids, a daughter, 22, who's a lovely girl, and other daughter, 19, who I'll call Kim for the sake of the post. Kim has always had a bad attitude to everyone, especially me. Now, before anyone assumes my fiance was already divorced 2 years before we even met, and his ex is a nice person who I get along with very well, so there's no hate from her end either. Kim is 3 months pregnant and living with us because we have more room for her and the baby. The baby daddy stays sometimes, but he has 2 jobs along with studies, so it's mainly been me who's taking care of her. So the main issue today was that her boyfriend came over, so my fiance suggested we let them have the house to themselves and go for a walk. About 2 hours later, I came home and noticed my cat missing, who Kim hated and wanted me to get rid of. I asked her where he was. Kim said she ran out the door, which I knew was BS. Whiskey is an elderly cat who wouldn't even go out on the porch if I didn't bring him. So I checked the Ring camera, and as expected, Kim threw Whiskey out, then ran her off. My fiance tried saying Kim is pregnant, her hormones are all over the place, and the pregnancy brain messes with women, that he was gonna bring up getting rid of Whiskey for the baby's sake anyway. I was in tears till I looked over at Kim with a smug, satisfied look on her face. I effing lost it. I got up in her face and screamed that she had 1 hour to find my cat or all her crap would be in the dumpster, and I was done being her slave. She said she wasn't looking for my stupid cat and back off as she was pregnant. My fiance told me to calm down and we'd look for the cat. I told him no, I would look for my cat, and when I got back, his daughter better be gone, and if he has issues, he could go too, because I was sick of dealing with his little bee of a daughter who everyone, including her parents and boyfriend, avoids. I didn't wait for them to respond. I did hear her crying, though. As you know, I found my cat. He was hiding in some bushes. It took 28 long minutes to find him. When I arrived home, they were both in the living room. My fiance said he wanted to talk, but first he said I owed Kim an apology. I told him F himself and she better start packing. She's at her boyfriend's family home as far as I know, and my fiance is not talking to me. Update. I didn't think I'd give, at least this soon. So now my ex-fiance's oldest daughter reached out to me to ask my side. I'll call her Kate. She's an animal lover like myself. Her father asked to stay with her for a few nights because he said I was having a breakdown over my cat. He basically made out the cat escaped, and I went after poor Kim for not trying to catch him. Kate is a very smart girl. She can see BS from a mile away, and obviously she knows her own sister, so she called Kim to ask her side. Kim was more honest. Basically, her and her dad planned it at some point. A view suggested the plan was for her baby daddy to take the cat out a road dump, but he wouldn't do it because, in Kim's words, he was a P. So they got in a fight about it, and Kim, thankfully being lazy, just kicked Whiskey out and ran him out of the yard. Kate told me the way Kim's talking about me and Whiskey, even if she doesn't move back, she does something for revenge to Whiskey. So I've decided to listen to Kate, my friends, the vet, his assistant, and everyone here, and I called the wedding off, which is in a few weeks, and broke up with my ex-fiance by text. I don't give an F if it's immature or cruel. I've told him I'll box his stuff up for him and leave it for him to collect in a few days. Don't worry about Whiskey. I told my ex, call me when he's coming over so he'll be locked in a room safe, and I'm calling a 24-hour locksmith next. The begging and BS promises have already started, but my mind's made up. I'm done being his ATM slave for him and his spoiled bee of a daughter, Kim. Whiskey is fine, by the way, just a little shaken, but he's curled up in my lap, refusing to move. Okay, so first off, just hate the animal cruelty of this person, like, kicking this, very much domestic house cat out of the house like that. Like, that is just sick and cruel. You don't get rid of someone's pets. People who know this channel know how strongly I feel about pets. And yeah, I would be furious too. And I would want her kicked out too, because not only did she try and get rid of your pet because she didn't like it, but then, was lying about it and stuff. That is a trust issue right there. So absolutely, yeah, I'd be like, no, what you did is pretty unforgivable. Goodbye. But then to find out also that your fiance, Kim's dad, was in on it. They were like scheming a thing. I'm so sorry to hear that. But yeah, obviously the wedding's off because now you can't trust him. He's trying to get rid of your pet in this way. And that's... what is wrong with people? Like, just gross. I'm so glad that Whiskey's okay and that you're able to find the poor kitty. I mean, sometimes, oh, God, just think of how much worse that could have been. Oh, Lord, why do people have to be such absolute a-holes? My gosh, like, oh, we don't like the cat. Well, then have better discussions. And if you did, too bad. It's her pet. It's her cat. I'm sorry you don't like cats. Get over it. Jeezy Pete's. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.